sit down. So this morning I've decided to make my title wrong side, Garrett. Wrong side. This morning, I'm going to talk to you guys about letting God decide. He chooses and He uses. We're going to start with a scripture verse this morning. We're going to look back in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verses 4 through 8. The Lord gave me this message. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations. O sovereign Lord, I said, I cannot speak for you, for I am too young. The Lord replied, do not say I am too young. You must go wherever I send you, and you must say whatever I tell you, and don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you and protect you. I, the Lord, have spoken. Now there's automatically two ways that we can react to this story. One, he's a complainer and he told God no. Who are you to tell God no? Two, the second way we can look at this is, I am also young. I'm a new believer. I'm new in the faith. Or I'm just young. Jeremiah, when he was told to go prophesy to the nations, he was in between 13 and 16 years old. So that would be like Kaylee Burkall going and prophesying to the nations. And I'm not here to tell you whether you're right or you're wrong with your excuse. I'm not here to tell you whether you're right or you're wrong. I'm here to tell you to let God decide. Now that is way easier said than done. But we need to trust Him. He knows what to do. He knows what He's doing. Whew, barely got that one out. He knows what He's doing. Let's start with some excuses that we like to use, that we've all used. I'm not important enough, I'm not good enough, and I'm flawed. I can't pay for that. I didn't learn that. I didn't go to GBS for that. I don't know how to speak from the Bible because, well, I didn't go to school for that. I don't know every book of the Bible in the order it's in. I don't have the strength for that. The next one is, I'm just a kid. No one wants to listen to me. No one's going to hear what I have to say. Or, I'm new in the Spirit. I might be old, but I'm new in the Spirit. I'm little. I'm nothing compared to the problem that's at hand. It's way over my head. As an electrician, my favorite phrase is, that's way above my pay grade. Let the engineers worry about it. Never works. But the next one is, I'm just a girl. I'm not. But I can't speak out. This isn't my place. And society tells me that I can't have an opinion. Or I've made bad choices. My record isn't clear. I've been in prison. I'm a drug addict. No one wants me in a place of power or a place to represent people. Or maybe not yet. Not quite yet. I don't think I'm ready. Have you ever used any of these? I have. I've used several of them. There's also some other people in the Bible who have used these same excuses. And just for the three that are most relatable is Moses, Jeremiah, and Gideon. Let's start with Moses. Let's look at Exodus 3, 7 through 11. The Lord said, I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt. I've heard their cries because of the men who make them work. I know they suffer, so I have come down to save them from the power of the Egyptians. I will bring them out of the land to a good big land flowing with milk and honey, to a place where the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Now, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have seen the power of Egyptians used to make them work hard. Now come, I will send you to Pharaoh, so that you may bring my people, the sons of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses protested to God, who am I to appear before Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of Egypt? First, let's take a little look at what Moses was. Moses was a killer. Moses had killed an Egyptian slave master who was mistreating one of the Israelites. Then he ran across the Red Sea. So he's a killer and a runaway. He ran away from his problems. Now he's just a shepherd, someone known as just a Hebrew shepherd. And last but not least, he had been there, he'd done that. He knew what Egypt was like, he knew what the people was like, and he was scared to go back. If we look a little bit more, Moses had believed himself to be at the bottom of the totem pole when it came to talking to Pharaoh. I'm not good enough. Then he argued with God, saying, "What do I say?" They will ask questions. Who do I say sent me? He needed more than just what he was told to do. He was told there in Exodus, "I am sending you. I already have a plan." And Moses, like in football, didn't just go with the play that was in front of him. The coach gave him the play. God gave him the play and said, "Here's what I need you to do." And Moses goes, "Well, what about 3 plays later? What about down the road? When they ask who sent me, how will they know that you sent me? How do I know they will believe me?" Then he said, "They won't believe me. They'll deny that I've spoken with you." Another excuse. His last and final excuse was, "I'm not good with words and I can't speak. My tongue gets a little twisted, I get a little tongue-tied, and I can't speak. Please send anyone else. There's got to be someone better than me that can do the job." Now, if we jump to Judges 6, verses 11 through 15, the angel of the Lord came and sat beneath the great tree at Ophrah, which belonged to Joash, clan of Ebenezer. Gideon, son of Joash, was threshing wheat at the bottom of the winepress to hide the grain from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "Mighty hero, the Lord is with you." "Sir," Gideon replied, "if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? And where are all the miracles that our ancestors told us about? Didn't they say, the Lord has brought us out of Egypt, but now the Lord has abandoned us and handed us over to the Midianites?" Then the Lord turned to him and said, "Go with the strength you have and rescue Israel from the Midianites. I am sending you." "But Lord," Gideon replied, "how can I rescue Israel? My clan is the weakest of the whole tribe, and I am the least in my entire family." So not only was he coming from the weakest clan, but he was the weakest of the family. He thought he was nobody. He said, "We're weak, we're small, we're nobodies, and I am the most nobodiest of them all." But when God said he would help, Gideon kept asking for more. In verse 17, Gideon replied, "If you are truly going to help me, show me a sign to prove that it is really the Lord speaking to me. Don't go away until I come back and bring an offering to you." Right there, he told God, "Just hold on 1 second. Just wait for a little bit until I go and get the offering and bring it to you." How often do we say, "Just wait a little bit. Just wait until I turn 18 so I can stay in South Dakota. Just wait until after Christmas. I don't have the money to do that right now. Just wait." If we look at Jeremiah 1, verses 4 through 6, "The Lord gave me this message. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as my prophet to the nations. O sovereign Lord," I said, "I cannot speak for you. I am too young." All of these people had excuses for God. All of these people had a reason why they couldn't help God out. All of them had a reason for why they thought they weren't good enough, for why they thought they weren't important enough. "God, I'm just a wrinkled up pie tin. I can't even make a good looking apple pie in that tin. Cheesecake would look kind of funny with ridges in it and all wrinkled. God, I'm not as good as, let's say, this brick, or say so-and-so. I'm not as strong as they are. I can't make a great foundation. I can't be the starting block of this movement." But God's plan isn't always what it looks like to us. We think, well, the brick, he's a lot stronger than I am. Not in God's plan. If we look a little bit further, we got the nice fancy sports car, Fast and Furious. Everybody should watch it. Everybody should. But Maybe I'm not as shiny or as new. Maybe I'm not as adventurous, as good with kids. Maybe there's that one thing that they're better at than me. In God's plan, it doesn't matter. Maybe, I don't have quite as rough of a past. Maybe my past is clean. Maybe I don't have that comeback story that I was part of Hell's Angels biker gang and the Lord got a hold of my heart. It doesn't matter. We keep on going and we see the necklace. Maybe I'm not as shiny. Maybe I'm not as high class. Maybe I'm not as presentable. Maybe, as Moses said, I'm not good with words. I can't talk too well. And this is probably going to be one of my mom's favorite books. Maybe I'm just not, that match, that spark, the center of attention, the person who always has people standing around and always knows exactly what to say. Or maybe just my past isn't quite as clean. I haven't been a Christian since I was 6. I haven't been to church every Sunday and every Wednesday because that's what a good Christian does. If the doors are open, you're here. Maybe I'm not quite that clean. Or maybe I'm just not really good at being there in sticky situations. Maybe I'm not the one people rely on in sticky situations. There's always somebody else that we think is going to be better than us. But what did God say when Moses answered with all of his excuses? God said in Exodus 3:12, I will be with you, and this is your sign that I am the one who has sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this very mountain. This very mountain where you're talking to me now, when you bring the people across the Red Sea, when you bring the people over here, you will worship me on this mountain. To Gideon, in Judges 6:16, the Lord said, I will be with you, and you will destroy the Midianites as if you were fighting against one man. Not an army, but one man. As Gideon prepared to go to war, he had hundreds of men, thousands of men, ready to fight with him. And God kept thinning them down just a little bit here, a little bit there. There's 300 men left when God was done. 300 men versus an army of over 100,000 soldiers. And God said to Midian, go down in the valley. If you're not ready to attack, go down in the valley where they are and listen. And so Gideon snuck in, and he was listening there behind one of the tents. And he overheard the soldiers talking. I had a dream, and this rock rolled down the hill and smashed the tent. What does it mean? And he said, it means Gideon's army is ready, and they're coming. As Gideon ran back and defeated, and he got all of his guys, they defeated the Midianites. The Lord was with him, and he crushed him as if he was one man. In Jeremiah 1:7, the Lord replied, do not say I am too young, for you must go wherever I send you. And you must say whatever I tell you. And don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you, and I will protect you. I, the Lord, have spoken. I, the Lord, have said, I will be with you. I am going with you. So while you might think that God's plan needs a brick for a foundation, while you might think that God needs a new Tesla out in the driveway, I don't think that. I don't like electric vehicles. You might think God needs a new diesel truck out in the driveway. He's looking to use you. He's chosen you. He has a plan for you. In closing today, we're going to talk about David. David was just a young boy, a pooper scooper in the fields who was sent to deliver bread to his brothers. When he saw a giant named Goliath, he knew his God was bigger. 1 Samuel 17:47, and all those gathered here will know that it is not by the sword or the spear that the Lord saves. For the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into their hands. Don't tell God how big your giant is. Don't tell God how big your giant is. Tell your giant how big God is. Don't tell your God, oh God, I think you need a brick here. I can't talk that well. Moses, I can't talk that well. I think you need a book here. Somebody who can speak. God, I'm too young. I can't do that. God, my past is a little too rough. Moses was a killer. God, my past is too rough. God's wanting to use you. David stepped up and slayed Goliath with just a small rock and a slingshot. Let's look at Mary. Mary sat at the feet of Jesus and listens to his teaching. That position was normally, in their day and age, reserved for men or leaders of their community or the spiritual leaders. But Jesus did not bat an eye at her position on where she was sitting. She was sitting right at the feet of Jesus, listening. Martha, on the other hand, was so worried about making sure that the house was perfect for Jesus and that the surroundings were perfect for Jesus that she forgot to listen to what Jesus was teaching. She came out and she saw Mary sitting there and she went over to Jesus. She's like, tell Mary to come help out a little bit. Tell Mary to fit into what society has molded her into. And Jesus spoke to her kindly, saying, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what's better, and it will not be taken away from her. Mary was learning and growing. And sometime in that time, she would have been scolded for being at the feet of the teacher. Yet, he was very quick to support her decision. She was learning. If we look at Matthew 9, chapter 9, verses 9 through 13. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at his tax collector booth. And he said, follow me and be my disciple. Jesus said that to him, and Matthew got up and followed him right away. Later, Matthew invited Jesus and the disciples into his home as dinner guests, along with many tax collectors and other sinners. But when the Pharisees saw this, they asked his disciples, why does your teacher eat with such scum? And when Jesus heard this, he said, healthy people don't need a doctor. If there's nothing wrong with you, you don't need a doctor. Sick people do. Then he added, now go and learn the meaning of this scripture. I want you to show mercy, not offer sacrifices. For I have come to call all those who think they are righteous. I have come not to call those who think they are righteous, but those who are sinners. If we can easily give God an excuse, it's because we understand that we are sinners. We understand that we have issues. But God is asking for us to be his tools. The devil will tell us anything he can to get us to believe that we are not important enough to be in God's story or to be used by God. He wants us to think that we are just wrinkled up pie tins that aren't good for what we're even meant for. But God said, I need that wrinkled up pie tin. I need that. We are all made in the image of God. We are all made into his story, and we are all part of his plan. The last thing I'd like to look at is Luke 23, verses 40 through 43. But the other criminal rebuked him. Don't you fear God? He said. Since you are under the same sentence, we are punished justly. For we are getting what our deeds deserve, but this man has done nothing wrong. Then he said, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus answered him, truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. The guy was on a cross, being hung right beside Jesus. The thief on the other side was talking a bunch of crap. But the thief on the opposite side of Jesus said, don't rebuke him. We're getting what we deserve. This is an innocent man. Remember me. And Jesus said, today you will be with me in paradise. I challenge you this week to forget about making excuses and let God decide. Because
it doesn't matter what you think.